Hey, I just want to talk to you for a minute about effective communication in God, effective communication in the zone of God, effective communication in the Spirit of God. Now, we talked about this last night about being in the Spirit, or when God's thoughts are on a thing, that thing is going to be captivated by God's attention. When God's thoughts are on the world, there is a zone that's going to captivate the world. And only people who recognize it will tap into that zone. Now, this may sound like some deep talk or some good, fancy spiritual talk. The reason I say that is because most of us don't live day to day in that connection or on that level of spiritual awareness because of the demands of life and the cares of life and bills and relationships and jobs. And we're thinking about the job, and we're thinking about how to have effective performances at work so we won't get fired. And we're maybe thinking about a TV show or something that we want to look at. Most people don't live on that high plane of thought constantly. To some people, they put forth energy to think deep at certain times. Most people live in the flow. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I... What's up, Jordy? I am a lion. I am the lion, and you're going to hear me roar. Roar. Get her CD, though. I Am a Lion on iTunes. It's really cool. I like the professionalism of it. Most people don't live on that level. And then some people live in what we call the flow, which means we're living in tune. Everyone say in tune. Most of us we live in tune with the captivation of God, not with the captivation of religion, but with the captivation of a divine presence and awareness. And we allow that flow to determine our behavior pattern and frequency, which causes us to move in a certain direction. And so we're not exerting any energy to be accepted. We're simply living in the flow of a divine passion. And so there's a big difference. Like I said, most people don't live on that level constantly. They hear it when it's time to go to church, but when it's time to go to work, they're an employee. So ask yourself, at this moment, are you a son of God or an employee? What are you right now? What's your state of hearing at this moment? What's your state of acceptance or embracing? What's your state of life at this moment? Are you an employee at work taking a break to hear something? Or is this a natural feeding time to your consciousness? Okay. So we talk about effective communication in God, a prayer or zone. So I want to talk a little bit about discerning your vibe. Discerning your vibe, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. I may share a little bit of this tonight at our University of Kairos, our strategy school and spiritual pursuers module tonight here in Houston, Texas. So I just want to share a little bit about discerning vibes or vibrations. Vibes are really vibrations or energy circuits that we feel. You ever notice, have you ever walked in a room after someone had an argument or a disagreement? Now, you didn't see the disagreement, but when you walked in a room, it felt like something had happened. And you might say, hey, what's going on? What happened? What did I miss? Because you can feel a disturbance in frequency because there's been a disagreement. If you know what I'm talking about, let me see your hand. Let me see your hand. You could give me some hearts, so let me see a hand or something, a thumb or something like that. Yeah, you ever walked in and there was a disagreement, there was a dissension in the atmosphere in that home, and you can feel, there go Jason with that Amistad finger again, that's a slave hand, and you can feel a dissension. But it's funny sometimes that we could walk in a place where there's agreement and we might not feel that there was an agreement. We have an innate feeling to feel negative before we feel positive. And I don't know where that comes from, but we usually can feel negative octaves above what we can feel of things that are positive. All right. So it's the same way in the atmosphere of a vibration. Now, this might not be important to people who have too many cares in life. You may be wondering, what are you talking about? Or what's this about? Because when you're caught up in life and truth comes, we become strangers to it and we say, what is this truth doing here? Because we're not living on that level. It's usually we have to get prepared to hear things that is on the back burner of our mind instead of the forefront of our mind. Usually, when you hear spiritual things, you have to know what time we're going to go. What time are we going to hear it? Because, see, you could go to work anytime, but you can't hear God anytime. So we have to be prepared to hear God. So we have to have a time. We're going to meet at 7:30. So you have enough time to get in the mind of something that you don't really flow in. You understand what I'm talking about? So, but what I'm saying is relevant. Uh, we have to discern vibrations, and we're going to take it to this point. I wrote something on Twitter earlier that it's hard to pray for someone. It's hard to pray for anyone whose failure would make you happier, more happier than their success. It's hard to pray for anyone whose failure would make you more happier than their success. But that's a vibe. Deep down, if your failure would make me feel competent, it's hard to uplift you in prayer. I think we think that prayer is a form like this. Pray for me. Okay, I'm praying for you. But prayer is releasing a vibe to the lifetime of an individual. Prayer is not really talking to God. It's allowing your divinity to release a certain energy that will aid or push another individual into the fulfillment of a successful situation. Prayer is an energy that is released to the lifetime of an individual that will catapult or launch them into some form of greater well-being. Prayer is not just talking to God and telling God to fix that person down the street. Prayer is you already in tune with the universe, and you release potential from your mind and consciousness that will totally catapult people into new realms. And it's impossible to send a positive vibe to a person whose failure would make you more happier than their success. And sometimes that's why a lot of things don't work for us. Because if you fail, deep down, I would feel greater. There are some people, we can't enjoy them unless we're doing good too. And if I'm doing bad, I can't really enjoy you unless I can share in it. You know, you understand? So we have a lot of mixed wiring in our consciousness and ego. Sometimes the success of a person angers us because it shows us that the comparison between us and them is growing farther. That's why most people are in mental competitions with other people, because the mental gulf is expanding. And nobody declared the race, but within us we feel we are losing and lagging. So that's why we have to discern vibes in our communication. In God, because all of us are God in the earth. We are who He is in this earth. And things move and live and die as we arrive. We're not just a group of people. We're not just a group of people that are praying to a higher power to do something. When we were created, we were naturally given dominion over this earth to cause it to shift and to release abundance in this earth. We are the stewards and the controllers and the architects and the masters of this universe. We are the reflection of God in the earth, and we have to all live in a divine vibe if we're going to do any incredible things. And the reason miracles are not being done, it's not because it's a lack of faith, but it's a lack of love and a lack of desire for one another to be one. When I don't want you to succeed, I don't want us to be one. And so if I feel, Jesus said this, Father, I pray that we are one, just as you and I are one. I pray that those you give me shall become one. One with God in full agreement as God in the earth. One. But if I become happier at your failure more than your success, I may not voice it. It would be hard for me to send energy to push you into the awesome timeliness of purpose. It would be hard for me to compel you and push you and catapult you to be in your most incredible potential if I would innately feel happier at your failure than your success. So I can't pray for you. I can pray for you, but my prayers won't be heard. My prayers won't push you. As a matter of fact, I will feel more of a burden because I am feeling someone is desiring me to stay back. I'm not feeling catapulted, I'm feeling held. Because we have to discern the vibe. And most times we call it the devil. But it's not the devil. It's the enemy of friends. It's the enemy thought life of friends that are around you. It's the thoughts of an enemy coming from a friend. It's the thoughts of being held back from close associates. Jesus said your enemies will be those in your house. Your enemies will be those that are not just under the same roof, but the enemies may be those who are a part of your circle, or the enemy may be people who have an enemy within their body. When you have an enemy in your mind, there is an enemy in your house. And when you have an enemy in your house and you want to pray for me, the enemy in your house is desiring my failure more than it's desiring my success. So Jesus said the enemies are not just people outside, but the people in your house. You understand what I'm saying? And so we have to discern the vibe. There is a vibe we got to discern when we are communicating as God. See, every moment you are an oracle of the living God. You're not just a preacher. You are the reflection of a divine thought and divine imagination in every moment. But sometimes cares of this world and bills and life makes us forget or disconnect from who we are. Life has a way of taking us away from who we are. When we allow it, we forget who we are because we have to tend to something that's dying. Those of us who are involved in the cares of life, we are believing in death and not our divinity. When we are tending to life, or cares, we are tending to our own demise. And those of us who are dying cannot pray for those who are living. You understand, when you are connected to the cares of this world, you are celebrating a debt that you are looking for. So that means you are forgetting that you are eternal life because you are tending to cares. Cares choke the word of life from you. When there are cares, it makes you forget that you are who God is in the earth. You understand? Oh yeah. So you have to discern vibes. You have to discern vibes or vibrations. I can't pray for you if your failure would make me more happier than your success. I may send words out to you and lay hands on your shoulder, but I'm not launching you. I'm not. See, I've been in situations where I felt a launch, where it seemed like I was skyrocketing. Then I've been in situations where I felt like I was in a sinkhole. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know what I'm wanting to do. But I'm like, wait a minute. It's because I embraced what I thought was prayer, and I swallowed an anchor. See, when you have people you love that say they pray for you, but they really want you to fail, what you are doing is swallowing an anchor. You are not, when you believe and receive their prayers, it's not a matter of the devil coming out of their life and coming to you. No, you are becoming open and embracing of an anchor that they're imparting to you. And you're receiving an anchor and you're sinking instead of flying. It's not a matter of Satan came, the devil came, but the enemy of their consciousness. They fed an anchor in my soup. Somebody put an anchor in my bread. Let me hear you say that. Somebody done put an anchor in my food. See, prayer is the food of the gods. Prayer is Jesus always, that's why he said men should always pray and not faint. Not men should always beg, but men should always be in effective